everyone, it's Dawn. Hope you've had a good weekend. Well, as promised, I have popped back just to show you how I made a couple of the paintings that we saw in my weekly roundup last week into greetings cards, and we're going to make a couple of birthday cards. Now, I'm going to use this painting, which I did in watercolour, but I'm not just going to plonk it onto a cardstock because that would be far too easy. It's a great way to start, but if you want to move that on a little bit, we can do something a bit more, but it's not complicated, but a bit different. You'll see what I mean. Now, I have used this fabulous embossing folder for a background, but I haven't just embossed it on white. I have done something with it, and I've used it in two different ways, one on the first card and one on the second card. And I'm going to show you as we go through what I've done and which side I used. Now, when you open your embossing folders up, if you've used these before, you'll be very familiar with them. You've got an embossed side, which is the bit that's raised, and you've got a debossed side, which is where the pattern sinks in. And on the first one, I have used the debossed side, and I'll show you what I've done with it. I'll bring it over. I've already done the painting. I'm just going to pop my picture out of the way for a minute. What I've done, as I'm sure you can see, if I bring this in just to compare it, bring it down a bit and then you can see. I've done a much simpler and paler toned version of the same painting. I haven't put the cottage in because once I pop that onto there, you won't see it. But it's just it's not exactly the same, but it's very similar, and I've painted it a lot paler with more water than pigment or paint. And what I've done, I've used my giant glue stick. Now, as you can see, it's only £2. I haven't even bothered to take the price tag off. I got this from the Works. Now, sadly, the shops are closed at the moment because here in the UK we're in lockdown, but you can get it on their website, theworks.co.uk, and as you can see on there it says it's for kids, but I'm just going to pop it out the way because it's a big one, and if it falls over it'll clunk. It is very, very strong. It's more than adequate to use for professional craft or for card making because it is really sticky and really strong. Now, this is £140 watercolour paper, which is it's not very thick, but it's thicker than cardstock, certainly. And it was certainly big enough. I've already glued it down because it needs a bit of drying time. And as you can see, that is stuck. So we are going to take that. Oh, wonder what that was. Never mind. And on the back, we'll carry on. That was me phone, but we'll carry on. I should have turned it off. And on the back, I've put some foam tape. And I'm just going to very quickly take the backing off. Hope that doesn't do that again. And I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to put it slightly below centre, and I'll show you why in just a second. And then once you've done that, you can get a sense of a sort of, well, not quite a ghosting, but a paled out version of the painting. It's not quite the same, but similar. And to finish off, I die cut a happy birthday on, actually I used some gold card, which I've used on my second card, which we'll see in just a moment. And I had a scrap left over, and I turned it over, and on the white side, I used, sorry you can't see that, my die cut, or one of my die cuts, to do a happy birthday. So I'm going to just take that off. Again, I've used foam tape. And I'm going to put that, oh, shall I put it there or shall I put it off centre? Let's put it in the centre this time. Perhaps we'll do something different with the next one, but for now, we'll put that on the centre. Just get rid of my rubbish, because it'll be in the way for the next time. And this is the foam tape that I use, just ordinary foam tape that you can buy in any craft store. And there is our first card. Now, moving swiftly on, as they say. This one I'm going to do in portrait mode, which is upways. I've had a couple of people say, what's the difference between landscape and portrait? Landscape mode is when you have your card sideways, like that. And portrait mode is when you have it portrait upways, like that. Lengthways, not upways, that's a new technical term. Now, the reason it's called that is because when you're painting a landscape, you'll often have your paper that way. But if you're painting a portrait, whether it's a person or an animal, it's quite often that way. So that's why they're called portrait mode and landscape mode. So we've had a couple of queries as to why they're called that, so now you know if you didn't already. And what I've done is I've used my pen. Actually, I used watercolour pencils on this one, and I just did some blotches of green all over. And for this one, I have used this side, the emboss side, the bit that sticks up. So it's protruding, and I'll show you why in a minute. Because I have used this painting, which I'm sure you remember from my weekly roundup if you join me for that. And I did a very similar background, but we're not just going to stick it like that this time. I tried that out and I thought, no, it needs a bit of a lift. So what I've done, just bring that in a minute, I've used a piece of my gold mirror card. And again, I've put foam tape on it, which I'm very quickly going to take off. And I'm going to flip it over, and this time I am going to put it more or less in the centre, maybe slightly lower than centre. Slightly lower, I think. And we're just going to lay it down like that, because that just lifts the painting or the image away. And again, I've put foam tape on the back of my photo. This is just a photograph of the painting that I did. I'm going to turn it over, and I am going to put that in the centre this time. And we're going to lay that down like that. We're nearly there. And this time, what I did, again, I've used a scrap of the gold, and I've handwritten happy birthday this time onto the white part. And I'm going to pull that off like that, and this time I think we're going to put, if I pop that down there, I'm going to put it slightly off centre. I think I'm going to put it about there this time. And there we have our card like that in portrait mode. So there you have two cards. I'll just move that over a bit so that we can fit them both in. Two cards. I hope you'll agree they're really good and slightly different, but it's just a different way of, if you enjoy painting but think, what do I do with all these paintings? Even if you just use your photographs of paintings, or if you do miniatures or smaller paintings, you can put them onto cards and you can dress them up with some backing card or some mirror card. Put your sentiments on. If you haven't got dies, as you can see, you can write it on if you've got neat writing, or if someone else has got neat writing. Or I'll tell you what else you can do, a quick tip which I've only just thought of. You can keep your greeting cards that you get from other people, or buy some cheaper ones from somewhere like in the UK, Poundland, or in the US, the Dollar Tree, and just cut the sentiments off of an existing greeting card and just stick it on the front. It's just as acceptable. Homemade cards should look homemade, I think. So I hope that's given you some ideas to have a go at your own methods of turning your paintings and your artwork into greetings cards. So stay safe, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Have fun, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye for now.